Welcome to the annual general meeting today. It's really good for us to be together and to celebrate some of the things which have been happening over the last year and to think back what has been a deeply troubling and concerning time as well for many across our nation and in the globe beyond.
Toby, in this last year, how has the Benefice been able to maintain its call to ministry despite the restrictions?
This last year, I believe the Benefice has been remarkable in ensuring that we continue our ministry, even though COVID has been around us. We've done that in all sorts of ways, particularly, of course, through our online worship and the way in which we've discovered how we can be together, even when we're physically apart. And it's really opened up our eyes to the presence of worship in that way. In addition, we've done the remarkable hardship campaign and raised thousands and thousands of pounds. Those have gone to those most in need within our community, have enabled us to help out those families in our locality who've really struggled during this time. So I'm really proud that we have managed as a Benefice to continue to live out our call to be communities of mercy and kindness. I believe we've done that really well together.
What is the plan going forwards over the next few months?
The plan for the next few months obviously changes all of the time, and we have to continue to be responsive, as we've all learnt during this COVID time. What we can be sure of, though, is that we will place worship at the heart of our common life. That's our primary vocation as the church, to simply worship God. Quite how we'll do that and in what ways, I'm not yet sure. By the time I'm going to stop there, because of course by the time we've got to the APCM it will have changed. What I'm really clear is that as well as worshipping, we need to re-evaluate our common life. There's loads of things which we used to do, which we've been prevented from doing since March 2019, and we've got to discover new ways of launching ourselves to grow together in discipleship, to be followers of Jesus, and to allow Jesus to shape and form our lives in new ways as we go forward. So we will continue to worship, we'll continue to grow together as community, and we will find new ways of reaching out to other people as we go forward. One of the differences which has happened during this time is that our ministry team has changed a lot. During this last year, we've said farewell to Ross, we've said farewell to Joy and to Nick, and things have changed. It's been great to have James come back on board as a pastoral assistant and Rebecca as a pastoral assistant too. And looking forward, we're advertising currently to look for a schools youth worker so that somebody can come to develop our work with young people. Some of you will know we work with 11 schools across the Benefice, and each week in term time we have collective worship for between 600 and 2,500 young people. It's an incredible opportunity that we have, and we want to grow that, and we're really grateful to all of you who are excited about that and are supporting that both with your prayers and with your finance. As a ministry team, we're really clear that this has been an extraordinarily demanding time for so many people. As we continue to come out of this time, we believe that it's vital that we take 3 R's into account: rest, recuperation, and refreshment. We want people to be able to rest as we come out of lockdown. We want to recuperate our social networks, our religious faith, our opportunities of joining together across a time which has divided us. And we want people to be refreshed in their relationship with Jesus, refreshed in their friendships, refreshed in their communities of faith, and above all, refreshed by the living waters of God.
Toby, what has grown in the last year?
Well, I guess our internet bills have grown in the last year. We've had an extraordinary time where we have really rebirthed ourselves as an online community. And that's been probably one of the greatest reformations of the church which we've ever known. It's happened so quickly. If I'd said to you all 2 years ago that you'd be worshipping on Zoom and having Zoom meetings and team meetings, I think people would have looked at me as though I'd lost the plot. And yet that's what we've done together. We've managed that. And so I think we've done that. We've also managed to find new ways to connect. The book circles carrying on, Bible studies carrying on, Exploring Spirituality programme is carrying on. So we found all sorts of ways in which we can connect with one another even though we are apart. And I'm really thrilled by the way in which the Benefice has come together at this time. As well as that, I'm mindful that some people aren't online. And I guess in one sense, some people won't ever be watching what I'm doing now. For them, we've been doing the bulletin each week, which has gone out to 450 households every week. And we've sent that in hard copy to those whom we know have not been able to access that through the internet. So we believe we've done what we can do in as many ways as we're able to ensure that we keep the bonds of community strong and that our friendship for one another grows together.
So Toby, in the last year, what has suffered or perhaps been lost?
So in the last year, I think so many people have suffered great loss. We've had millions of people die from this disease. Most of us have been touched by it fairly close to hand, knowing somebody who's been sick with the disease, even if we're fortunate enough that they haven't actually died from this. And so the bonds of grief are, for me, I think, one of the things from which we've suffered most. That separation from people when you want to get close to them, to give them a hug and to let them know that you are alongside them. In addition to that, we've lost that common community of joining together, the uniting of the people of God in prayer, praise and worship. And we've had that taken away from us in the way in which we were familiar, and we've had to learn new ways of doing that. Our communities have suffered. People have suffered financially. The economic crisis is probably only just beginning, and our children and grandchildren will probably still be paying the price many decades hence from now. And of course, for so many people, their mental health has suffered. That isolation, that loneliness, that gripping fear of when we first found out about COVID and we knew it was coming our way. And in many ways, more profoundly than we have experienced in this nation, others across the globe have suffered far more greatly. And we stand in solidarity with all those who have experienced the horror of this disease, especially when suffering in abject poverty.
Toby, in light of that, over this last year, would you have changed anything, if any?
One of the things I think is that we got Zoom right. I'm really pleased about Zoom. I love the interaction and the personal nature of that. You can see people respond in real time. And for me, that's very different to live streaming or even streaming if you've pre-recorded. So that immediacy, I think, was the right way for us to jump, and I'm really pleased that we did that. I think if I could change anything, we'd have got better at getting in touch with those who aren't online sooner. So we did set up the Benefice newsletter, and we did that regularly, and we did ensure that people got that. But I think we could have been more effective around that. And we possibly could have responded faster in some ways to the needs of people within the community. But I think we also have to be very gentle on ourselves. Many of you have said very gracious things about how the ministry team have operated. And I think a huge debt of gratitude is owed particularly to Richard and to James and Kaylee before that for the way in which we were able to adapt. And I think that's a sign of real grace that we've managed that together. And I know that you're very grateful for that, and I want to name that at this time.
What are you most proud of in the Benefice? Toby, what are you most proud of that the Benefice has accomplished in this last year?
I think what I'm most proud of in the Benefice in this last year is the way that we have adapted together. I'm really proud of my colleagues in the ministry team and the way in which they have adjusted and managed this process so well, and the way in which we have continued to grow as a team through this very demanding time. I'm really proud of the wardens and the way in which they have resourced us to continue our worshipping life as a church, and they've continued to have care for our buildings, even at a time when mostly we've been locked out of them. But although the doors of the churches have been locked, the heart of the church has been very much open. And so if I could only choose one thing, it would be each one of you, each one of the Benefice, for the way in which you have adapted and changed, for the way in which you have continued to be faithful to the promises of your baptism to turn to Christ. We've all had to do quite a bit of turning one way and another during COVID. We've had interruptions and unexpected things. We've had pain. We've had sorrow. We've also been able to resource one another and be there. And a particular shout out too for the callers, the way in which we have kept in touch with so many people across the Benefice during this time, and the way in which that has been effectively managed and ensured that we do so in a really positive way. So I want to thank all those people who have shared in that in any way.
And finally, Toby, is there anything else you'd like to talk about?
I'd like to say a huge thank you to everybody who's taken part in the drinks parties. We started them early on in the process because we knew we were being isolated and there was quite a lot of fear and worry, and we wanted to have some fun. And it's been a really good way of staying in touch with one another. So huge thanks to them. Also, huge thanks to Francis and Sally for sustaining the music. And they've been helped by Jeremy on one Sunday, and I'm very conscious that Paul Francis and Jeremy and other musicians haven't been able to play in the way they normally would, but it's been great that music has been part of our continuing common life. And I know that those of you who sing in choirs will want to get back and to get the singing going again. We long for that day. I hope that that can happen before too long from now. Also, a massive thanks to Michelle. The way she has continued to run the parish office has just been fantastic during this time of adaptation and change, and as ever, she has risen to the occasion.
And a few final words.
This has been a really challenging time, and my prayer as we go forward is that the God of tenderness will be known in each of our hearts, that our hearts of stone may become hearts of flesh, and that God will do an incredible thing within us, that we may witness to that power of God to others. As we do so, my prayer for you in this Eastertide is that you will know yourself transformed, and that together, as we move forward, we will continue to live out our calling to be a community of mercy and kindness.
Hello everyone, I've been asked to say a little bit about the collective worships we are offering to schools. We are currently a team of 7 with occasional input from others, and we're producing a weekly collective worship for 6 of our local primary schools, including the Bat, St Mary's, St Kenelm's, Hayley Village, West Witney and Witney Community Primary. Themes vary from adjacent Sunday Gospel readings to festivals and saints. They've been accessed by children learning at home during the lockdowns and also by classes at school. From feedback I've received, they've been really well received and much appreciated during this time.
One of the amazing things we have seen happen during COVID time is the incredible response to our hardship appeal. We have had over 17,000 given to help those in need with our local communities. This has helped countless families who have been really struggling. As one family wrote recently, "Words feel like it's not enough to explain how truly grateful we are for your amazing kindness. It is a breath of fresh air seeing that there are good people out there. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts." It is really good to see our faith lived out in action and in care for those around us in such need at this time.